Chapter 91. Mu Yi-chen and I are a legitimately registered married couple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 91. Mu Yi-chen and I are a legitimately registered married couple. Luo Chenxi's expression did not change at all. After listening to Mu Weiwei, she asked, "So?" Mu Weiwei did not expect her to be so unshaken. She could not help but frowned and raised her voice. "Didn't you hear what I just said? Sister Xinxin is allowed into the study room because she has a special place in my big brother's heart. She is the daughter of the Bai family. Our families stand on the same ground and we live in a completely different world from yours. So you better know your place." Luo Chenxi curled the corner of her lips and said with a composed look, "Know my place? You mean my place as the Mu family's young madam? Mu Weiwei, you are still young, you have absolutely no idea what goes on in a man's mind. Your big brother is a dominant man. If there really was someone that he liked, he would have married the said person a long time ago. How could there possibly be nothing of that sort after all these years? Even without me, Bai Xinxin would not have become your sister. Law." Mu Weiwei briefly choked. What do you know? Big brother made no moves out of concern for Sister Xinxin's career. Plus, he got pestered by a vixen like you. Since you are both engaged, he will have to get rid of you before he can get together with Sister Xinxin. He is being respectful to Sister Xinxin so that she won't have to bear the name of a mistress. Mu Weiwei finished her sentence in one go. She raised her chin and looked at Luo Chenxi from the corner of her eyes, waiting to see how she would react. However, not only did Luo Chenxi not get angry, she even burst out laughing. "So? Your big brother's way of dealing with me is to turn me into Mrs. Mu. That's really considerate toward Bai Xinxin." This one sentence made Mu Weiwei's face stiffen. "Also, you said that your big brother doesn't want Bai Xinxin to bear the name of a mistress, so what are you doing now instead? Your big brother and I are already married, aren't you trying to manipulate Bai Xinxin into becoming a mistress? Doesn't that mean that you are trying to go up against your big brother?" Mu Weiwei's face suddenly turned red. What mistress? Sister Xinxin is not a mistress, you are the mistress. Mistress or not, that's not something that you can just verbally claim. Mu Yi-chen and I are a legitimately registered married couple. Should I fetch the marriage certificate from my room so you can have a good look at it?" Mu Weiwei became so angry, she could not speak. Luo Chenxi ignored her and went back to her room. However, before she entered, she still could not help herself from turning back to take a look in the direction of the study room. The door was tightly shut. Mu Yi-chen and Bai Xinxin. What are they doing in there? In the study room. Mu Yi-chen looked at Bai Xinxin, who suddenly pushed open the door and entered the room. His black eyebrows immediately furrowed. "Miss Bai, didn't anyone tell you that my study room is not to be entered as you please?" His tone sounded very impatient. After taking a glance at Bai Xinxin, his gaze once again returned to the document in his hand. Luo Chenxi's dejected look from not being able to afford the fabrics back this evening kept appearing in his mind. Could it be that he hadn't done enough to take care of the Luo family, that it put their daughter in such a dire financial strait? Just as he was pondering over whether or not to hand over a few big projects to the Luo family, Bai Xinxin walked in and interrupted his train of thoughts. She cowered slightly at his cold voice. Young Master Mu became even colder and more dignified when he entered his working mode. Thinking back about how Luo Chenxi called him "my husband," Yi-chen, and how she had also won over Tang Tang, Bai Xinxin decided that she needed to stop acting passively like before. This time, she needed to take the initiative and make Yi-chen understand her feelings. Otherwise, that vixen is going to snatch Yi-chen away. As she thought of this, she immediately said, "Yi-chen, my second brother mentioned he had an important document for you. He intended to personally deliver it to your company at first, but asked for my help instead since he knew I was coming to your place." Mu Yichen nodded after briefly recalling that there was indeed a 100 billion renminbi project collaboration with the Bai Group. A document. Bring it to me. Bai Xinxin felt delighted deep down and took quick steps toward Mu Yichen with a folder in her hands. Thank you, just leave it on the table and, ouch, it hurts. Halfway through Mu Yichen's words, Bai Xinxin suddenly twisted her leg and let out a painful cry, falling toward him. Chapter 92. Her fall, like a dog licking poop off the ground. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 92. Her fall, like a dog licking poop off the ground. Bai Xinxin aimed her fall at Mu Yichen's position. She deliberately adjusted the angle of her fall before she did it. Today, she purposely wore a long, red-colored V-neck slim-fitting dress that revealed her delicate collarbones and slender legs. The dress completely showed off her alluring stature. Bai Xinxin was very confident in her own figure. She was a supermodel who was praised and regarded as a goddess by countless fans after all. There is not a single man in the world who would remain unmoved by her deliberate temptations. Be Nove calm, but just as her body inclined and started to fall, Mu Yichen suddenly moved slightly to the left. It was only by a tiny margin, but he just happened to have completely avoided the woman who was abruptly falling toward him with that movement. Bai Xinxin secretly cursed in her heart as her plan went south. However, it was already too late for her to regain her balance. Thud. Bai Xinxin's entire body fell forward and she landed right next to Mu Yichen's feet. That was quite a heavy fall. She was so certain that Mu Yichen would catch her. Hence, in order to make the accident look like a real one, she had not prepared any countermeasures in the event that a real accident would actually happen. At this moment, she was lying face down like a dog licking poop off the ground. Her entire body ached painfully and her face twisted from the agony. She did not recover from the pain for quite a while. Yichen, Bai Xinxin was shocked. She never would have thought that Mu Yichen would dodge aside. Mu Yichen looked at the woman lying on the floor in a strange posture. He subconsciously moved sideways when Bai Xinxin was falling toward him. This was completely done out of reflex without a second thought. By the time he came back to his senses, Bai Xinxin had already fallen onto the floor. Mu Yichen slightly frowned as he extended his hands to help her up. Miss Bai, are you all right? No matter how he looked at it, Bai Xinxin was his good friend's sister. If she got hurt during her first visit to Mu Yichen's house, Bai Shixuan might just fall out with him. Bai Xinxin on the other hand had gotten the wrong idea. She thought Mu Yichen actually felt guilty for not catching her as she fell. Thus, as she slowly got up from the floor, she leaned toward Mu Yichen and looked into his eyes. Yichen, as Bai Xinxin got closer, a faint perfume fragrance wafted over. A hint of displeasure flashed across Mu Yichen's eyes and his face immediately darkened. Miss Bai, I have received the document. You just had a heavy fall, and we're not sure if any of your bones are hurt. I'll get the family doctor to tend to your injuries. Please go out and have a rest. Bai Xinxin bit her lips. But, Yichen, I twisted my ankle, I can't walk on my own. Can you give me a hand? Beads of tears formed in her eyes. She put up a pitiful look and acted as if she really was in agony. Mu Yichen coldly answered, I still have work matters to attend to. How about this, I'll have the butler to assist you. Bai Xinxin widened her eyes. How can I accept that? If he summoned the housekeepers here, would they not know that she failed to seduce Mu Yichen and even got chased out of the room? I think my injuries are fine, I can walk on my own. Bai Xinxin forced a smile on her face. Then, I'll have my leave, Yichen. Don't push yourself too hard with work, that's good, I won't see you out. Bai Xinxin turned around and took slow steps toward the door as she limped on purpose. With every step she took, she hoped Mu Yichen would come over and help her out of his guilty conscience. Regrettably, nothing happened even after she reached the door. When Bai Xinxin turned to look, Mu Chen was already completely engrossed in the documents in his hands. He did not even glance at her from the corner of his eyes. She gritted her teeth from anger and stormed out of the study room. Outside the study room, Mu Weiwei was sulking in the corridor. When she saw Bai Xinxin coming out, her eyes lit up and went toward her. "Sister Xinxin, how did it go? You've gone in for a long time. Did Big Brother apologize to you? Did he explain that he was forced into that marriage?" Bai Xinxin bit on her lips. As she was about to say something, from a distance, she suddenly saw the door of the master bedroom open. Then, Luo Chenxi walked out of the door in her homeware. Bai Xinxin swallowed her words of complaint, then curled her lips into a smile. She raised her voice on purpose and said, "Of course. You know your big brother, he's embarrassed to say anything in front of outsiders, so he insisted on talking to me in private." Chapter 93. Young Master Moves So Quick. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 93. Young Master Moves So Quick. Mu Weiwei thought Bai Xinxin was telling the truth, so she instantly became delighted. She glanced at Luo Chenxi disdainfully. "Did you hear that? A certain someone thought she could take on the position of the Mu family's young madam just from a mere certificate. Why don't you take a good look at yourself?" Bai Xinxin tugged on Mu Weiwei for speaking too loudly. She was afraid of Mu Chen hearing what she had said from inside the room. All right. Weiwei, don't sweat it with Miss Luo. Regarding the matter between your big brother and I, we actually feel quite sorry for her. It's better not to agitate her." Mu Weiwei said unwillingly, "Sister Xinxin, you're too kind. Why would you feel sorry for her? It's completely her own fault for being too shameless." "Enough, don't say any more." Bai Xinxin stole a glance in the direction of the study room as she started feeling a little anxious. Mu Weiwei then snorted, "Sister Xinxin, you need to stop being so kind. People could take advantage of your kindness and trick you. Fortunately, my big brother will be there to protect you." Mu Weiwei turned around and looked, then revealed a smirk on her face. "Sister Xinxin, why is your dress in such a mess?" "Don't tell me, my big brother." Hee. Bai Xinxin looked down and found that her slim-fitting dress was wrinkled, and the hem of the dress was upturned. There were also red swelling marks on her knees. These were caused by her heavy fall just now. Bai Xinxin looked at Luo Chenxi who stood a short distance away, then she bit her lips and lowered her head. "Weiwei, what are you thinking about?" "It's just. I injured myself from a fall. It has nothing to do with your big brother." She was telling the truth, but she deliberately told it in a coquettish and ambiguous way to provoke the wrong idea. Naturally, Mu Weiwei immediately got the wrong idea. Who would have thought that Big Brother is such an eager person? Could it be that you'll become my sister-in-law very soon? Weiwei, don't say any more. Miss Luo is standing right there. So what if she is? We'll just have her open her eyes to her surroundings, so she would stop treating herself as the Mu family's young madam. I guess a certain someone should get it now. Big Brother only has Sister Xinxin in his heart. He might just file for a divorce tomorrow. Bai Xinxin wore a modest expression, but the complacent look in her eyes was clear as day. Thanks to Mu Weiwei's simple-mindedness, Bai Xinxin only needed to manipulate the girl into saying what was truly on Bai Xinxin's mind. That would also save her the trouble of ruining her own image as the daughter of a wealthy family. She looked in the direction of Luo Chenxi, completely convinced that she dealt a heavy blow to the latter. However, Luo Chenxi stood quietly at the side without uttering a word. Sensing Bai Xinxin's gaze, she raised her eyebrows and asked, "Are you finished?" Mu Weiwei said, "Yes, we are. If we continue, you might just start crying." Luo Chenxi curled the corners of her lips. "Do you know what time it is? Are you blind? Can't you see that big wall clock right there? It's 6:30, almost time for dinner. What are you even bringing this up for? Don't think that you just can change the topic like this. Luo Chenxi nodded. That's right, it's 6:30, your big brother and I came home at around 6 o'clock, and it has only been half an hour since then. Let's deduct the time we took to greet each other downstairs, say 10 minutes, what are you trying to say? Bai Xinxin also felt that something was up. Luo Chenxi ignored her and continued talking. Let's deduct another 5 minutes for your conversation, that leaves us with 15 minutes. TSK, who would have thought, that the great young Master Mu can get it done so quickly. What do you mean? Mu Weiwei got sent into a trance for a brief moment. When she came to her senses, her face turned bright red. Luo Chenxin. How dare you speak of my brother like that? Luo Chenxi shrugged her shoulders with an innocent look on her face. I didn't mean any of it, you were the ones talking about it in the first place, so wasn't it you who implied it that way? Chapter 94. She is the rightful young madam of the house. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 94. She is the rightful young madam of the house. Mu Weiwei felt a rising rage in her chest. She was so angry, she could not speak. Bai Xinxin too had a gloomy expression. This woman's fearless. She was much harder to deal with than Bai Xinxin had expected. Luo Chenxi shot another glance at her, then turned around and walked into the children's room without a word. Just now, Bai Xinxin's coquettish tone was indeed very believable, and she almost had Luo Chenxi convinced. However, no matter how she thought about it, she could not imagine a man like Mu Yichen to have an affair with another woman in the study room. Besides, 15 minutes. It would be nice if Mu Yichen really was that quick. Then she would not have to put up with the suffering she did on the night of the wedding. She almost could not get up from the bed the next day. It had already been several days since then, but her waist and legs still felt weak. Big sister. The little dumpling tilted her head and called out to Luo Chenxi. Luo Chenxi came back to her senses, then quickly picked up the little dumpling. Tang Tang is so pretty. Alright, let's go get dinner. She went downstairs and entered the dining room. Everyone else was already seated. As Luo Chenxi walked up to the table, she suddenly stopped. In the past few days, she had a fixed seat at the Mu family's dining table, which was next to the little princess children's chair. However, Bai Xinxin arrived earlier and took Luo Chenxi's usual seat. She sandwiched Tang Tang in the middle with Mu Weiwei on the other side. Luo Chenxi frowned slightly at Bai Xinxin's provocative gaze. Before she could say anything, Mu Yichen's voice sounded, "What are you standing there for? Quickly sit down. Tang Tang must be hungry." Ha! Mu Yichen's gaze fell on the seat next to him. Luo Chenxi understood and sat on it immediately. Then, she smiled at the butler and instructed, "Please move the little miss seat over here." In the end, she was still the rightful young madam of the house. Did Bai Xinxin think that her little tricks could topple Luo Chenxi's position? This scene made Bai Xinxin so angry she felt like throwing up. She was dead set on embarrassing Luo Chenxi, but in the end, Luo Chenxi ignored Bai Xinxin's little tricks and even asserted her dominance as the young madam of the house. The little dumpling on the other hand paid no heed to the scene that just unfolded before her. She did not think there was anything wrong. Now that the little girl sat next to the big sister that she liked, she started happily eating her food. As she dug in, she helped Luo Chenxi with the vegetables as usual. "Big sister, eat this one. Big sister, eat that one too." Seeing how close and caring the little dumpling was to Luo Chenxi, Bai Xinxin became so depressed that she could barely eat her food. She left dejectedly after dinner. Luo Chenxi kept the little dumpling company and played with her for a short while before coaxing her to sleep. Luo Chenxi then returned to her own room. She turned on her laptop and started revising her design drafts. After managing to get her hands on so many fabrics that she liked today, Luo Chenxi got new design inspiration and wanted to jot them down before she forgot about them. Luo Chenxi became very focused as she worked and did not notice that time had passed at all. Why are you still working on your design this late into the night? The Mu family doesn't need the little money that you earn from this, hurry up and take a shower and go to sleep. Mu Yichen walked in front of her and closed the laptop lid with his hand. Luo Chenxi finally snapped back to her senses and her face subsequently darkened. What are you doing? I'm only halfway through my drawings, and you broke my train of thoughts. Get out of the way. She wanted to flip open the laptop again, but Mu Yichen's sturdy hand pressed firmly on the laptop's lid without moving an inch. Stop drawing, go to sleep. No, give me back my laptop. Luo Chenxi glared at him angrily and immediately attempted to peel his fingers away. She kept at it for a few times, but to no avail. Instead, Mu Yichen managed to grab her wrist and pulled her up. Luo Chenxi was caught off guard and her head crashed into his chest. Her perky little nose went red from the impact on his firm chest muscles. She covered her nose with one hand. What are you doing? Mu Yichen turned to look at the woman's rabbit-like red eyes and nose in his embrace. His gaze deepened, and the hand that was holding onto her wrist moved to her waist. He gradually tightened his grip, and his body moved closer to her subconsciously. Luo Chenxi swallowed dryly and subconsciously licked her lips as the familiar scent of the guy gradually approached her. At this moment, she suddenly picked up on a faint fragrance from Mu Yichen. It was the smell of Bai Xinxin's perfume. Luo Chenxi's expression abruptly changed, then she pushed him away with all her strength. Chapter 95. Those words felt sour. Was she jealous? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Chapter 95. Those words felt sour. Was she jealous? Mu Yichen never expected to be shoved away like this, and his face instantly turned gloomy. Luo Chenxin, did you actually push me away? Luo Chenxi glared at the man. If you want to talk, then talk, no need for intimacy. Mu Yichen's face became even darker as he heard her words. What do you mean, no need for intimacy? Is it a problem that I want to get intimate with my own wife? Of course it is. Luo Chenxi's gaze fell on Mu Yichen's slightly wrinkled shirt. She wondered if she made those wrinkles, or could Bai Xinxin have made those instead. Luo Chenxi pursed her lips and said, Young Master Mu, haven't you got it all wrong? How am I even the rightful young Madam Mu? Which person in the Mu family doesn't know that our marriage only serves as a temporary measure? We'll divorce sooner or later. However, Miss Bai on the other hand, seems more fitting of the title herself, doesn't she? She acted like she did not care in front of Bai Xinxin and Mu Weiwei. However, in truth, she did feel a little upset deep down. Bai Xinxin did enter Mu Yichen's study room and stayed for quite a while, and Mu Yichen did have her perfume fragrance on him. Mu Yichen frowned. What do you mean? What does this have to do with Bai Xinxin? Luo Chenxi raised her chin and looked into the man's dark eyes. Bai Xinxin obviously likes you, do you not realize it at all? Even Mu Weiwei herself said that Bai Xinxin will become her sister-in-law one day. Mu Yichen briefly stunned and stared at Luo Chenxi with a hint of amusement hidden in his eyes, but his face remained cold as he spoke, your voice kind of feels sour. Don't tell me. Are you jealous? Me? Jealous? Luo Chenxi had shock written all over her face when she heard his words. She shook her head and retorted, no, you're overthinking it, how could I be jealous? Haven't we agreed on the second day after our wedding? This marriage merely serves as a temporary measure. I've always been clear of my position and I'm not even the real Mrs. Mu, so why would I be jealous? The word jealous felt like a bolt of lightning that struck on Luo Chenxi's head. She suddenly realized that she had this irritating feeling in her stomach the entire night, and it seemed like it really was jealousy. Did she suddenly have a screw loose in her head? Mu Yichen was not a man that she could afford to get involved with. Back in the evening, when they were in the car, he even warned her not to pull any tricks and try to bind him to her side. The hint of amusement in Mui Chen's eyes suddenly disappeared. Then, with a voice that sounded forced and stale, he said, "Good, I see that you do know your place." Luo Chenxi was afraid that he would get angry, so she scrambled to explain, "Rest assured, I gave you my word, and I will keep it. I won't harbor any improper feelings or thoughts. It's just that no matter how you look at it, I'm the young madam of the Mu family for now. Don't you think that it's improper to just bring any woman that you like back home? Wouldn't that make things awkward? I've been playing along with your plan, don't you think you should also give me some respect in that regard?" As she finished, she blankly blinked her eyes and looked at Mui Chen with a sincere face. Mui Chen's face darkened so much it felt like it would drip ink. As the man stared back at Luo Chenxi, cold sweat began to break out on her back, but she insisted to voice out her thoughts. "Also, I think it's wrong for us to share the same room, I think it's better for us to sleep in different rooms. Otherwise, it will be hard to explain in case the incident back on our wedding night happens." Again, she truly thought it would be best to stay as far away as possible from young Master Mu. As expected of the ideal husband who was praised by many, his hormones could still run rampant despite his bad temper. If the two of them continued sharing the same bed, she might just do something she would regret. Hearing this, Mui Chen got so angry he felt as if his insides ached. However, Luo Chenxi was right. They should have slept in different rooms from the second day of their marriage. For some reason, the man himself would subconsciously return to the master bedroom every night. "Very well, you're right, I have been careless and this was wrong of me. From today onward, I will sleep in the guest room. Also, don't worry, I will not bring any other woman back home from now on. Since you're being so cooperative, this is the least I can do for you in return." Hearing his agreement, Luo Chenxi breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time felt more irritated than before. He didn't deny his relationship with Bai Xinxin, however, it did not seem like he was obligated to give her any explanation. Chapter 96. Seems like she is the only one having any weird thoughts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 96. Seems like she is the only one having any weird thoughts. Mui Chen pushed open the door and left. Luo Chenxi then returned to her desk and turned the laptop back on. Now, no one would disturb her from drawing designs and interrupt her train of thoughts. However, for some reason, she felt strangely irritated and could not bring herself to concentrate. After realizing that she had been daydreaming for God knows how many times, Luo Chenxi finally sighed and turned off her laptop. As she laid on the bed and closed her eyes, surprisingly, she had a rare bout of insomnia. She was unsure what time it was before she finally fell asleep. When she woke up the next morning, she turned to look at the time and realized that she had overslept again. She hurriedly washed up and ran downstairs for breakfast. Binov Ka Mu Weiwei had been holding in her anger for the entire night. The moment she saw Luo Chenxi, she instantly snapped. "Tsk, day by day, you get off the bed a tad bit later than the day before. As expected of the Mu family's young madam, you don't even need to go to school or work, all you need to do is to live off a man. It is no wonder that you get to wake up at any time you want." Mui Chen's face darkened and a trace of coldness appeared in his black eyes. Mu Yiling, who sat next to him, observed the changes in his big brother's expression. He could not help but worry for Mu Weiwei. "Oh dear God, this dumb sister of mine is provoking her sister-in-law again. Does she not want her credit card back?" Mu Yiling started pondering about ways to plead on behalf of his sister later. However, Mui Chen's expression quickly returned to normal and he did not say a word. He remained quiet as Luo Chenxi and Mu Weiwei argued in front of him. Mu Yiling was dumbfounded. What was up with his big brother? Did he get into a fight with sister-in-law again? How old are they? 12. Why are they always quarreling? Luo Chenxi stole a glance at Mui Chen. Mu Yi-chen was already well dressed early in the morning. His handsome side profile was as expressionless as a sculpture, as if the matter from last night did not bother him a single bit. Seemed like she was the only person who barely got a wink of sleep from having all the weird thoughts. Luo Chenxi hastily ate her breakfast. She stuffed a few mouthfuls into her mouth and stood up. Alright, I'm done eating. Tang Tang, let's get you to the kindergarten. The little dumpling wore a confused look as Luo Chenxi picked her up. Big sister, it's Saturday today, Tang Tang doesn't need to go to school, is that so? Luo Chenxi froze and laughed dryly. Hee, big sister remembered wrongly. Let's get you upstairs and we'll play jigsaw puzzles. She praised herself for her quick-wittedness as she prepared to head upstairs with Tang Tang in her arms. Mu Yi-chen had been quietly observing the woman who chased him out of the room last night. She had not said a single word to him since she came downstairs for breakfast, he was completely ignored. It seemed that she truly meant it when she said she was not jealous yesterday. Luo Chenxi did not take him seriously at all because he was only her husband in name. He could not help but call out to her when he saw that she was about to go upstairs. Luo Chenxin. Luo Chenxi stopped and turned around. Young Master Mu. Is there something I can do for you? Mu Yi-chen felt a rising anger stuck on his chest as he saw the look on Luo Chenxi's face. The smile she put on her face was perfectly bright, and there was also nothing wrong with her tone, but it was just too polite. Mu Yi-chen's face turned colder. At first, he wanted to tell Luo Chenxi that he was going abroad for business today, but he eventually swallowed his words. Forget it, she wouldn't care about it anyway. She might even be happier now that no one was going to bother her from drawing those D***MN designs. Watch Tang Tang carefully, if something happens to her, you won't be able to bear the responsibility for it, he coldly ordered. Luo Chenxi pursed her lips. Did this man just swallow gunpowder? Did he get annoyed by me bringing Tang Tang upstairs to play? Chapter 97. Big Sister's Dress is the Prettiest. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 97. Big Sister's Dress is the Prettiest. Luo Chenxi spent the entire day inside the little dumpling's playroom. The little dumpling was very obedient and smart, she had been playing with the jigsaw puzzle by herself most of the time. Her jigsaw puzzle was a more complicated type. Not only did it require good memory and analyzing ability, it also required a lot of patience. It normally took a child of 5 to 6 years of age to be able to play it. However, the little dumpling had been doing pretty well on her own, she only made a few mistakes. Luo Chenxi flipped open her laptop and connected her drawing tablet to it, then started drawing next to the little girl. The little dumpling kept on peeking at the screen curiously. She latched onto Luo Chenxi's thighs when she found out that her big sister was drawing a pretty dress. Big sister is drawing a dress, it's so pretty. The little dumpling put her chubby hand on the screen. She raised her chubby little cheeks and looked at Luo Chenxi while praising her drawings. Luo Chenxi lightly pinched the little dumpling's cheeks with amusement. You little flatterer, is everything that I draw pretty to you? The little dumpling pouted and retorted loudly, of course not, big sister's dresses are the prettiest. Prettier than the ones on television, big sister's dresses are the prettiest of them all. Luo Chenxi felt extremely delighted from her praises. She picked the little girl up at once and gave her a big kiss on the face. Thank you, my little angel Tang Tang. Since you like big sister's dresses so much, big sister shall make you a few pieces in the next few days. She had already decided to make the little dumpling a princess dress when she was buying the fabrics yesterday. The little dumpling widened her eyes with excitement when she heard Luo Chenxi. Then, Tang Tang wants those with really puffy skirts, Tang Tang wants them this long. The little dumpling drew strokes in the air as she continued, and I want capes with bunny ears, and some furry whiskers here. Luo Chenxi quickly nodded at the little dumpling's gaze full of expectation. You can have all of them, big sister will make them for you." The little dumpling got so happy that she pounced into Luo Chenxi's arms and smooched her face a few times. Soon, night fell. At dinner, Luo Chenxi noticed that a certain person was missing from the dining table. She tried to hold back from asking about it at first, but she eventually gave up and turned to the butler. "Where's the young master? Why didn't he return for dinner today?" Mu Weiwei sneered before the butler could answer. "You didn't even know that big brother went to M country. How dare you call yourself Mrs. Mu? Seems like he really doesn't care about you since he didn't even tell you such an important matter. He probably won't even remember who you are when he returns in 2 weeks." Luo Chenxi briefly went into a trance. Mu Yichen went to M country, and he's only returning after 2 weeks. She breathed a sigh of relief at this abrupt news. At first, she was worried about finding a way to ignore the guy and keep her distance from Mu Yichen. Having a man as handsome as Mu Yichen around took a huge psychological toll on her. There was no way she could ignore him. That's just humanly impossible. Thank God for now, that man had gone overseas for a business trip. All her worries were instantly lifted. However, it was a pity that she would not be able to see his handsome face for half a month. Without Mu Yichen in the house, Luo Chenxi's life in the Mu family became much easier. She no longer had to be afraid that her cover would be blown as long as Mu Yichen was abroad. In the beginning, Mu Weiwei kept up with her provocations toward Luo Chenxi every day. However, seeing that Luo Chenxi stopped humoring her, Mu Weiwei soon grew tired of her provocations and adopted the tactic of ignoring her instead. This was exactly what Luo Chenxi wanted. Apart from picking up and dropping off the little dumpling at kindergarten, she spent all her time drawing at home. A week later, Luo Chenxi raised her head from the pile of draft papers and threw the pencil out of her hand with a face full of frustration. D****. Why can't I do it? I was so inspired that night. That night, she managed to decide on her design theme thanks to Mu Yichen giving her the inspiration. Luo Chenxi's menswear design went very well at first and she managed to complete 2 different designs in a jiffy. However, she could not finalize the designs on the last 3 sets of clothes no matter how hard she tried. The more she looked at them, the more dissatisfied she became. How can this be? There are only 20 days left until the grand finals of the Huafeng competition. If I don't finalize them soon, I won't have enough time to make all these garments. She was so frustrated that she felt like she was going to burst. Just then, the phone on the table rang. Chapter 98. Such is the temptation of a beautiful man, another woman has fallen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 98. Such is the temptation of a beautiful man, another woman has fallen. Luo Chenxi. Where the H***ll have you been? Why aren't you replying to my messages? I went to your house to look for you, but your neighbor told me that you had moved out. Are you even my best friend? A woman's furious voice came bursting from the handphone. Fortunately, Luo Chenxi was ready for it and put the phone at a distance. She brought it close only after the outburst was over. Little Qianqian, what's with the ferocity? Didn't we vow to be each other's angel for eternity? It hasn't even been that long, why does it sound like you've gotten tired of an old hag like me? Luo Chenxi said, feigning pity. Feng Ziqian snorted and said, how dare you have the nerve to bring that up? You have 1 hour, meet me in the cafe at the ground floor of my office building, or we're done. Luo Chenxi quickly packed up and left. Feng Ziqian and Luo Chenxi were best friends. They first met at the orphanage when they were young. She was a big sister type of intellectual beauty. Today, she wore a professional-looking OL suit and black rimmed glasses. There was no way anyone would have imagined how hot-tempered she was from her looks. Luo Chenxi. So you are alive. Why haven't you picked up my calls for such a long time? Feng Ziqian mouthed off as soon as the two met. Luo Chenxi knew that she was in the wrong, so she put her palms together as she sat down opposite of Fang Ziqian. I'm so sorry, little Qianqian, I have my own reasons. Fang Ziqi immediately frowned. What is it? Did something happen to you again? Luo Chenxi saw the expression on Fang Ziqian's face and knew that she was thinking about what happened 4 years ago. She quickly shook her head and corrected Fang Ziqian, no, it's not what you think. She hesitated for a moment and eventually decided to tell her about the marriage. Fang Ziqian became furious after hearing Luo Chenxi's explanation. D**mn, Luo Ongua and his sons are way too shameless. How could they do something like this? You are his daughter in flesh and blood, how could he do this to you? What are you to him? So, how is the situation now, is Auntie Fang still alright? I went to the hospital yesterday, Mommy's condition's still stable. That's great then. Fang Ziqian heaved a sigh of relief, then started ranting to Luo Chenxi again, why didn't you tell me sooner when you encountered such a big problem? I've started working earlier than you did, so I have a bit of savings. I could have lent you some money. Luo Chenxi shook her head. You work overtime every day and can only earn so much, my mommy's illness is a bottomless pit, so I can't trouble you for it. Moreover, the only way I can find a heart donor for my mommy is to rely on the Luo family's power. Fang Ziqi said angrily, how can you call this troubling me? Alright. I'm already married now. It's too late for you to say anything more. Besides, it's not entirely a loss to be married into the Mu family. After all, look, I'm now the young madam of a wealthy family. Luo Chenxi finally managed to calm down Fang Ziqian after explaining a bunch. Wait. What did you just say? Who exactly did you marry? The eldest young master of the #1 wealthy family in T-City, isn't that? Up until now, Fang Ziqian was busy pinning the blame onto the Luo family. Now that she calmed down, she noticed an important point that Luo Chenxi mentioned. Luo Chenxi nodded. Oh, that's right, it's exactly who you think it is. My husband is Mui Chen, the great ideal husband of the people, Mui Chen. Fang Ziqian's eyes were about to pop out. What did I just hear? My best friend just got married to Mui Chen. That Mui Chen who always got voted as the #1 man that most women would want to marry every year, the extremely handsome Mui Chen that every woman would spread her legs for. Ahem. Little Qianqian, don't be so excited, keep your voice down, everyone's starting to look this way, Luo Chenxi pounced over and covered Fang Ziqian's mouth. However, it was already too late. The other customers in the cafe all looked at them with strange eyes. Someone is fantasizing about getting married to young Master Mu again. Previously, a woman went all the way to the top of the Empire State Building at the 188th floor and declared that she would jump off from the building if young Master Mu didn't agree to date her. Such is the temptation of a man of unworldly gorgeousness, another woman has fallen. Chapter 99. You know it. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 99. You know it. Luo Chenxi felt like she was about to spurt blood from the misunderstanding. At the same time she felt a little relieved. Thank God no one believed her, otherwise she would be all over the headlines. MMH. As she looked down, she saw Fang Ziqian's reddened face from suffocation and quickly released her hand. Fang Ziqian finally learnt her lesson and asked with a soft voice, so, did you really marry Mui Chen? Luo Chenxi had a helpless look on her face. I just told you, I'm only a substitute. Moreover, Mui Chen really hated that cheap sister of mine. On the first day of our marriage, he warned me to keep my head down and don't think about regarding myself as his wife. So what? Didn't you both still get married? The great ideal husband in the eyes of the masses is now your exclusive husband. You have no idea how many women out there would be super jealous of you right now if they knew. Luo Chenxi could not help but swung her head back and rolled her eyes. Jealous my foot. There was no way Fang Ziqian knew how much suffering she had to put up with every day in the Mu family's house. Facing Mu Yichen's unworldly gorgeousness, she had to stay on guard at all times, or she might just do something that she would regret. This was just like having an absolutely delicious-looking bean curd placed right in front of her. All she needed to do was to gobble it up, but she could not bring herself to do it because she knew it was poisonous. This really had her painfully frustrated. Let's not talk about this anymore, it's been so long since we've last met, is there anything new happening on your end? Did you get a boyfriend? Luo Chenxi quickly changed the topic. What boyfriend? How do I ever get the luxury to even have a boyfriend? It's not like you don't know how insane my boss is. Day by day, he keeps me as busy as a slave for 24 hours. I barely managed to sneak out of work for our afternoon tea now because he went on a business trip. Env Fang Ziqian's gut filled with rage as her work got brought up. Luo Chenxi hurriedly comforted her, there. Calm down, how do I calm down? Fang Ziqian raised her voice again. Not only do I have to handle my usual work matters, I also need to deal with that girlfriend of his from the reinforcement group. You've seen playboys before, but have you ever seen one that changes his woman every 3 days? Why hasn't his D*ck rotted yet? Noticing that they were once again becoming the focus of the surroundings, Luo Chenxi quickly let out a few coughs. Cough, dear little Qianqian, calm down. How am I supposed to calm down when I'm talking about this boss of mine? Every time the two of them meet, Fang Ziqian would mouth off about her inhumane employer. From the way she described him, this guy really did not seem like he had a good personality. However, he did offer a pretty high salary to his employees. It has only been 3 years since Fang Ziqian graduated from university, yet she could already afford the down payment of a small apartment. Fortunately, being the playboy that Fang Ziqian's employer was, he was still pretty self-aware and did not get on with women that were within his usual circle, so Fang Ziqian still continued working for him until today for the sake of money. Oh, right, I forgot to tell you some good news, I had gotten past the preliminary qualifiers for the Huafeng competition. That was Luo Chenxi's second attempt at forcefully changing the topic. She failed once, but this time, she picked a topic that was absolutely safe. As she expected, Fang Ziqian immediately became elated and said, I knew it, you've always been very talented, even 4 years back. Cough, you will definitely stand out. Do your best, take the grand prize of the competition, and teach the people who look down on you a lesson. Luo Chenxi let out a long sigh as she recalled the hundreds of design drafts that she threw away. Sigh, let alone the grand prize, I should thank the heavens if I can even get past the semi-finals. That can't be, how can you of all people not get past the semi-finals? Luo Chenxi simply explained the requirements of the semi-finals. Fang Ziqian became speechless after hearing Luo Chenxi's explanation. Fang Ziqian knew Luo Chenxi's weakness very well. 5 sets of men's wear. Aren't you in trouble? I'm not just in trouble, I'm finished. Fang Ziqian suddenly had an idea. Say. Little Cece, have you ever thought of taking the initiative to look for some inspiration? Luo Chenxi was stunned. What inspiration? I heard that a lot of famous male designers have their own muses as a source of inspiration. I think you can find yourself one too. For instance, the great ideal husband of the masses, young Master Mu. Hearing this, Luo Chenxi recalled the scene where Mu Yichen cooked noodles for her. That had indeed inspired her. However, she immediately shook her head, no, I'm not close to Mu Yichen at all. Why would he be my model? I dare not provoke him. Then that leaves us with one other way, you can get another good-looking guy to be your model. Luo Chenxi frowned. You know very well how fixated I am with a guy's looks. If the model himself isn't handsome enough, he won't succeed in giving me any inspiration. Then just get a handsome one. How hard can it be? Fang Ziqian lowered her voice and smiled mysteriously. Let's get someone from the club. You know what I mean. Chapter 100. What's a sun? In law. Is it edible? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 100. What's a sun? In law. Is it edible? Cough, 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 cough. Luo Chensi almost spat out the coffee in her mouth. What did you just say? Where are we going? Did she hear it wrong? Fong Ziqian glared at her. It's just the club, what's the big deal? Luo Chensi was surprised. Is your boss being a bad influence to you? You didn't even go to pubs back then, but now you're asking to hit the club. Aren't I just doing it for you? Fong Ziqian said unhappily. Luo Chensi quickly said, the problem is that there is no point going to the club. Back in Y country, I've been to clubs like this before, and in my opinion, all the young masters in there really looked ordinary. As a long-time sucker for good looks, there was no way Luo Chensi would pick any men casually. The number of men who could catch her eyes could be counted on one hand. The men in clubs like this were most of the time very good sweet talkers instead of being actually good looking. Thus, there were actually very few extremely handsome ones. Fong Ziqian clicked her tongue. Haven't you already been to clubs? What right do you have to lecture me? I'll let you in on one more thing, the club that I'm taking you to is the top club in T-Cities, the secret clubhouse. The young masters there are of premium quality. You can definitely find someone that you'd fancy. Luo Chensi looked at her suspiciously. Little Chanshan, are you serious? Do you even know how expensive secret is? It costs you 10,000 renminbi to break open a cold one in there. Do you know that I'm dirt poor now? How can I afford to go to that place? Oh, don't sweat it. Fong Ziqian waved her hand with a nonchalant look. My boss often brings his chicks to secret, and he usually asks me to book the seats for him. That means his VIP member card is still with me. We'll just use his card when we get there. That's not really a nice thing to do, is it? What's wrong with that? He said it himself to put all the expenses on his tab. But, Luo Chensi was still hesitant. Fong Ziqian looked at her from the corner of her eyes. What's wrong? Did the Mu family's rules shackle you up after you got married into it? Are you forbidden from going out at night now? How can that be? No one in the Mu family cares about me. If Mu Yichen was still around, he might still fuss around and stop her from going out. However, that man had already been on the business trip for so long. There was not even a single phone call. He had probably forgotten all about her. Would it not be a loss if she did not go out and have some fun at such a good opportunity? Luo Chensi gritted her teeth, but she said, I still need to think about it. What do you still need to think about? About? Oh, right. I have to pick up and drop off Tang Tang at school every day. I can't really bring a child with me to those places, can I? Fong Ziqian was stunned. Tang Tang. Tang Tang is Mu Yichen's daughter. Your elder sister and Mu Yichen's daughter. Fong Ziqian exclaimed, what does that have to do with you? You aren't even the real mother. Luo Chensi felt extremely upset when she heard Fong Ziqian's words. How can you be so heartless? Tang Tang is such a cute girl that anyone who sees her will adore her. Oh right, I suddenly remembered that I have to go pick her up, I'm running late. I'll be leaving now, let's meet again sometime. Fong Ziqian got a little confused. Why are you leaving so soon? Wait a minute. However, Luo Chensi only had the little dumpling in her mind. She waved her hand and got up to leave. Even so, she was still a few minutes late. When she arrived at the kindergarten, the little dumpling was already standing tiptoed at the main gate, trying to peek outside. When she saw Luo Chensi appear, she excitedly pounced on her. Big sister, Tang Tang misses you. Luo Chensi picked up the little dumpling and saw Bo Xiaoxian standing at a distance. Little Xiao Xian, are you waiting for your family to pick you up too? Why don't you hitch a ride with my car, I'll send you back. Bo Xiaoshuan's childish face had a composed demeanor that did not match his age. That's not necessary, Auntie Mu. My ride is right there, I'm just worried that Tang Tang was waiting here by herself. Now that Auntie Mu is here, I'll take my leave. The little dumpling laid on Luo Chenxi's shoulder and waved her little hand. Bye, brother Xiao Xian. After Bo Xiao Xian left, Luo Chenxi could not help but pinch Tang Tang's little face. As expected of my Tang Tang, she has my little son Law tied around her little finger. The little dumpling blinked her eyes blanky and asked with an innocent face, Big sister, what's a sun Law? Is it edible?